Good afternoon, Flosstube. It's Caroline from Caroline's Corner here in Leeds in the UK. I'm back for my Christmas update. I made it to the end of term. It was a bit touch and go at a few moments, especially with mocks and kids started bouncing off the walls because of Christmas, but hey, we're there. Yeah, not a lot else going on. It was all heads down and survival really for the last few weeks of term, for this last half term. So I've got a pile of things to show you. This is a channel, it's going to be about cross stitches. There's going to be a little bit of knitting in this video because I've done a little bit of knitting this holiday, and I'll show you where I'm up to. So other than that, it'll just be about my stitching. So thank you to everyone who's watching. Thank you. If you're new here, please subscribe, like and comment. I do like getting comments. I know I'm not always the speediest at responding, but I do respond eventually. You can find me on the internet at Caroline A. Kemp on Instagram. Show notes for this episode will be on my blog, which is carolinescorner.blogspot.com. And what I should have said is this is Flosstube number 40. Yeah, still here after 40 episodes. I don't think that's too bad. Anyway, I've got some coffee in my nice cycling podcast Tour de France mug from this year, made by the lovely Stacey Snyder, that I was lucky enough to snag during this year's tour. Get a lot of stitching done to cycling. Shall we just dive into the stitching, because my head is still recovering from the term. There's actually a fair few finishes. I've had a bit of a spurt at the end of for the end of this year, and including several things that are fully finished. The first thing that I have to show is some framing. I actually made it to, having been meaning to get to the framers for most of the year, I finally made it in October. Just trying to avoid everything falling off as I move this. This was propping everything up, and this is my framing. This, if you've been here a long time, you'll remember I finished this in 2020. This is Scottish Sampler 1757. This is the sampler that was on the inside cover of the Good Heart Samplers book from Needleprint. It was charted by Erica Uten, and I was gifted with the kit when I went to the launch for the book at Ackworth in 2008, and I worked on it on and off until I got to making it my focus piece and got it finished in 2020. So I took it to my local framers, which is Pomfret Gallery in Pontefract, and I really like the frame we decided on, which is this sort of rose gold stroke bronzy colour. It's getting dark here, so I'm not sure how well it'll turn up. I'm trying not to get the glare, but I'm really pleased with how it looks, and having finished it, to get it on the wall is lovely. Just put that down. This is the Good Heart Sampler book, and this is the original sampler. what they say about it is mostly drawing on the similarities between the letters on this sampler and Dutch samplers, and talking about the trading links between Scotland and Holland, the Netherlands. Yeah, this is a fantastic book if you can. I know it is very hard to get hold of these days, but it's well worth it. The original sampler is in the sampler collection at Montacute House in Somerset, owned by the National Trust. So yeah, so it was really, really nice to get that one out of the drawer and onto the wall. But I was reminded when they gave me the quote for it, just why it might have sat in the drawer for quite so long. In common with a lot of other things, the costs of framing have gone up quite a lot, like everything else. So on to the actual stitching. You will remember when I last filmed, I was very, very, very close to finishing my then focus piece, which was Glastonbury Garden by Lauren Sauer of Forget Me Nots in Stitches. You stitch all the pieces to make a sewing etui. So this is the outside, and this is the inside with various pockets. And when you last saw it, I had finished all the stitching on the actual etui, so that's the outside, and all the individual pockets. And I had found I had got a little extra sort of scissor rest to stitch. So in November I stitched this top half of the scissor rest, and in December I stitched the bottom half. They didn't take long to do at all. It's all stitched in sampler threads: spring green, evergreen, mistletoe, tropical ocean are the main colours used. And this will now go on the pile to be finished. I don't know if I'll get to it next year, because if you've been here before, you'll know I also finished another big sewing case this year in Fruits of the Vine. So that is going to get finished next year, with potentially this Glastonbury Garden being finished in 2026. After I had finished working on Glastonbury Garden, I was working on the first of the Christmas ornaments I needed to stitch for my kids. So this is for my daughter. This is Dragon Dreams, 13th day of Christmas. And this year, the ornaments for both kids came from the Just Cross Stitch Ornament Edition for 2016, which I have a huge collection in my stash going back to 1999. So yeah, so it's stitched with the called for DMCs. There's a couple of sampler threads, a little bit of Krynic. I finished it as a flat ornament. All the supplies, it's 28 count fabric. It's just a remnant of something that I had in my stash. I'm not sure what colour it is. The fabric that I used to back it was some I got at the Modern Quilt Club retreat in April, I think it was in my goodie bag. The trim is some Hobbycraft trim I've had in my stash for quite a while. Ditto the ribbon, no idea where that came from, but I tend to hang on to ribbon from all sorts of things. If there's any lying around, I nab it. My daughter picked that one out herself. She's very, very pleased with it. And so am I. And I got it finished on Christmas Eve. Was it Christmas Eve or no? 23rd of December it got finished, and it was on the stitching got done in November, the finishing happened in December, and it gets on the tree. So almost everything I touched in November I finished, which is most bizarre. Hiding my notes here under my, as I transfer everything around. And then let's get on to Whip Go. The way the numbers fell for me this year, I had a few things that were almost quite close to finishing. They all fell at the end of the year, didn't they? So both my Whip Go pieces for November I finished. And one of them is even fully finished. Because I finished Wandering Shepherd. And when I went to pick Scottish Sampler up, because this was finished, I took it straight in to get framed. So again, beautifully framed by Fomfrit Gallery. This one I needed a matte because of the charm, but we tried a load of different frames, and I love this sort of greeny grey frame that just made all the colours just pop. So I'm really pleased that this one didn't even hit the drawer. It got straight in for framing, and I am absolutely thrilled. So when I picked this up, I started this last year when I was on holiday in Costa Rica in the US. So when I picked it up, I was at this row of little sheep, the sheepies. So I just had to go down. So that only took me 2-3 days to finish. So yeah, so I took it straight in and I'm absolutely thrilled. So that was my framing budget for this year, well and truly blown on just getting 2 things framed. So the other Whip Go piece for November was one of the charity pieces that Lois, she's now Lady Dot Creates, did when she ran Elegant Stitch in Modesto in California. And it's called Life's a Gift, Untie the Ribbon. This was for 2012. And it's a little sewing set with a load of bits. So it came with the box, pre-made, and all the finishing materials. So the stuff to make the strawberry and the scissor fob, and it comes with a waxer and pink scissors. So I started this one in 2021. 2022. And then what I got done was the monogram for the fob and 1/2 of the scissor case. So when it came up in Whip Go, I finished the scissor case, the other half of the scissor case, and I did the stitching on the little needle book sewing case there. It's all being stitched on Norden Crafts linen that came with the kit. It came with green floche and a couple of sampler threads, geranium and tea rose, and some white perle. Now I did hit a snag, I realised after I'd finished, in that the two pieces of fabric that were supplied for the ruler case are actually different counts. And I didn't notice until I was done, and I was taking the picture and thought, hang on, that's quite a bit smaller than that one. So there was obviously a mix-up of packing. I'm a bit late to do anything about it now, 12 years down the line. So what I will probably do is adjust the outline on this side to match that one, and then see if I need to adjust the pattern need to add anything to it, or whether it'll look okay without. I can fudge it. I think 1/2 is 30 count, which is what it's supposed to be. 1/2 might be 35 or 32. These things happen. But again, another one that's off the WIP pile and into the to be finished pile, hopefully at some point next year, because it's little bits I should be able to so probably once I've finished Fritz the Vine, I'll do all the finishing on that one, and then that's done, because it won't take as long, individual bits. Nice. I hope. Famous last words on my part. So, to my large sampler for November. If you watched my last video, you'll know that was Hannah Wilson, which I was working on for Black Sampler November. It's by Needlework Press. I got this when it was an exclusive with the Homespun Needlework group run by Julie Cassave a couple of 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know if Vicky's released this yet, but it was never planned to be exclusive to the group, so I'm sure it will. If it's not out already, it will be coming out at some point. It's an aqua sampler, one of the alphabet style samplers from there, rather than a medallion style. So let me pen it to the board. I'm stitching this with on 40 count Eureka by Fox and Rabbit, using a Dinky Dyes called Mud Flats. There we go. Oops. When you last saw this, I'll try and insert a before photo. But when you last saw this, I just got a bit of this side done. So I've done all of the second side, took the border down, yeah, and just completed. I'd hoped to be a little further along and to have finished this row as well, but I'm not unhappy with my progress. It's going to be a biggie when I get it done, but it went quite quickly when I got on. And of course, being one colour made it very easy to work on. Just slowed down a bit when I get onto these numbers are all over one. So yeah, so I've just got the top bit done. Got quite a bit to go. Very much enjoy working on it though, which surprised me because I never thought I would, but yeah. So that was my stitching in November, which was a hugely profitable month with three finishes. in the ornament of both Whitgo pieces. Then of course in December I finished Glastonbury Gardens, so that took me up to 4 finishes. First thing I did in December was stitch Christmas ornament for my son. Now he's a snotty teenager, he's not wanting to engage with things like cross stitch at the minute and wouldn't choose, but he's getting one anyway, so I chose for him. And this is by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and it's called Not a Creature in Sight. Yeah, so this was, it was really quickly, stitched up really quickly. I actually finished it while I was at the Jingle Ball on first weekend in December. Again, finished as a flat ornament. The fabric in the back, on the back, I've had in my stash for years. The pom-pom trim came from TK Maxx. Ribbon was some from my stash. So the ribbon was some I was given by a friend of my mother-in-law's when she gave up her bridal dress studio. I was gifted some of the trimmings and things that she had left. So yeah, so I again was finished on the 23rd. Finished exactly the same as my daughter's ornament, really. So yeah, you wait for ages for a finish. It's like buses, load come at once. And then there was another finish. Whitgo for December threw up another of the breast cancer fundraiser pieces that I had on the go. Again, for Lois when she was running Elegant Stitch. This one is from 2006. It's called This Too Shall Pass, and she called the series Monograms and Motifs, and this is a little box, or it will be a little box when I get it finished. And all the stitching on the box is done. There will be a beaded monogram in this panel, but I will do that when I do the finishing. So I can make sure that I've given it a good pressing before I get all the beads on. And I think I put interfacing on all the back of all the panels. Or if I don't, I will be putting interfacing on that one, just because that'll mean the beads will be more secure. So yeah, so when I actually sat down and started stitching this one, it really didn't take that long. This is from 2021. I started it as a Stitch First Mania in 2021. It's the last of there were 2 other pieces in the set for monograms and motifs. There was a scissor case which I stitched, and a pin keep which I've also done, and some of the motifs on the scissor case are repeated on the bees on the box, this star motifs on the box. I stitched the scissor case for Christmas in 2005. And the beaded motif will be same sort of font as the K on the back of there. The the pin keep was 2010. And stitching something that said "This too shall pass" when trying to potty train a toddler. It just seemed appropriate, shall we say. So yeah, so it'd be really nice to get the whole set finished so I can have them out on display. So yeah. So again, this is some Nodden Crafts linen with silk threads. There's a couple of needlepoint silks and a couple of Glorianas. And so love the colours on those, they're lovely. But yeah, very glad to get that one finished. So that's 3 whips off the whip pile in 2 months. Yeah. So my other whip go piece for December was Samplers by the Scarlet House, which I started in 2022, 23, no, 22. I will try and insert a picture of where it was before I started. And then you can see how much I've got done. There we go. Yeah, so when I picked it up, I had the P, the tree, the M, the rabbit, and I'd made a start on the A. So everything else that you see there has been stitched in December. So I'm really quite pleased in that I've gotten all the way across, so that's the middle. I've got all the way across, so that top just needs the alphabet and the border coming along. Down here, there's 2 charts. I'm going to do the chart with the sheep rather than the chart with the 3 dogs on it. So there's a couple of sheep, and then there's a border that runs along. So yeah, so hence needing to get the border in so I could get the placement down here. It's being stitched with the called for sampler threads. I think it's mostly sampler threads, all sampler threads. So yeah, so mostly I store most of my threads when I've finished using them in floss away bags. If they're not in a floss away bag, that means I bought them for this project, and then they will go in a floss away bag when I have finished with them. But yeah, so that's my progress on samplers. I have made a deliberate error. Well, I made a mistake and I wasn't going back to correct it, in that I used the wrong shade of green for the leaves in the berry bowl and the grass down here. But by the time I noticed I'd done it, I'd done most of the leaves in the berry bowl and I wasn't pulling it out. I'd had to actually, yeah, and started the grass at the bottom, and there was no way I was frogging it all. So it's staying, basically. I should have used, using the piney woods, I should have used the forest glade, but hey, no one's going to know once it's finished, and however I decide to finish it, I will worry about that when I get there. I've seen it made into quite a nice drum, samplers, so I might do that. But yeah, very pleased with my progress on that one. It's looking really good, and here's hoping it'll get some love next year, but more of that in a bit. Which just leaves me with my large project for December, which is Christmas Garden by Blackbird Designs. Again, started in 2022, and I've been worked on a little bit, but not a huge amount. I think it might have come out once since I started it. So I was quite pleased to get a bit of definite progress. So I will again attempt to put in a picture of where it was before, so you can have a look and see how much I've gotten done. So this is being stitched on 40 count linen. Oh, I never said what I was stitching samplers on. That's just some 40 count light mocha from Zweigart. So this is some 40 count neutral linen that I got a metre of when it was on sale at the Viking Loom, because I just thought it was too useful a colour for not to have. I can use it for all sorts of different samplers. And I am using the called for crescent colours and sampler threads. So when I picked it up, that motif, I just started that one, and I think I'd done a small start on that one. So this time, and I'd gotten about halfway across the border at the top. So, you know, I like to get my borders done. I like to eat my veggies, as Carol says first. So I took the border all the way along to the top corner there. On this side, I think I just started then just putting in the buds on the border. I'm kind of going to be doing my border as I go on this one, because you've got some long straight lines that go across that can, you know, I can make sure it matches. So next time I pick it up, I'll take the border down on this side, so it's about the same space there. So yeah, so I finished off this bowl of flowers here, finished off that one, put in that motif, the deer, made a start on the big plant pot in the middle. Really quite pleased with how far I got. It's and it's looking gorgeous. Yeah, so definite progress, which has really been my aim on everything this year. So what's up next? That's my stitching, that's where I've gotten up to. So I had a lot of thinking, in trying to think about how I wanted to juggle stuff for next year. This year it's been quite a good year of stitching. I'm at, I think, I have a finish I can't show you yet, but I'm for an exchange. But so once I put those to bed, I will the last few days I've just been stitching for this exchange, and I finished that last night. So you'll see that in due course. That took me to 13 finishes for the year. And I started the year with 54 whips. Now, with my new starts, some of which I have started and finished, there have been a few smalls, but I've pieces. There was the exchange for the big stitch, the kids' ornaments, my next exchange piece. I am at 49 whips, so I'm really pleased I've got down to under 50. However, only 2 of those finishes, those 13 finishes, were big pieces. That's Fruits of the Vine and Glastonbury Garden. That's fine, I don't expect to get a lot of big finishes as long as I get some every year. There's been a small number of medium-sized finishes, but everything else has been small. I have finished all the small pieces that I had started in my whip pile. Unfortunately, all my new starts, bar the stuff I started for exchanges or the ornaments, has been big. I started 3 big new samplers. I mean, Jacob's piece for the big stitch isn't that big. That probably classes as a medium-sized project. But yeah, no, I'm starting more big pieces than I'm finishing, is what I'm saying. So I need need to try and I want to try and slowly decrease my number of whips down, because it's definitely been, I want to work on them. I don't want them sat in a pile. And plus all the new stuff that comes in that I want to work on. I was watching Brenda and Laura this morning, and they were talking. Brenda was saying how she wanted focus as her word for the year. Which I think is quite a good idea. I do need to, let's focus. I mean, I always have a focus piece, so how well that would work, I don't know. So I was having some thinking about what I want to do with my stitching for the next year, because you know I do tend to go for a year and then I get bored with how I'm doing it and then I switch it up and do it another way. So I'm going back to a more structured rotation, having had the sort of a bit of free form with whip go and stuff. Slightly I'm not going to do whip go this year. It was really nice to touch all my medium and small pieces this year. And I know I got a load finished and I made progress on them all, which is kind of the point. I do want to be more disciplined about starting things, but that's the way the rotation's going to go. So I'm going to go back to doing a 10-hour rotation. When I was working on samplers and when I was working on Christmas Garden, I kind of timed 10 hours just on both those pieces, just to see, out of interest, how much stitching does that look like. I don't count stitches. I don't use a tablet. I don't use Pattern Keeper or anything. I'm old school. I'm a paper chart person. So I don't count stitches. But I do have a timer on my stopwatch on my phone, so I can count. I can log my time. So I'm not going to be swapping projects as often because I want to do a solid 10 hours on each project. So the way I'm going to work it is I'm going to have a more structured rotation, and it's going to have 4 slots. So I'll have my focus piece, because hey, I want to get these big pieces finished, and let's face it, my focus pieces are always going to be the big ones. It's going to have a medium-sized slot for the smaller projects, slightly smaller projects that I've got going, because I've got them down to 18. Well, 18. I'm still going to start projects as I finish them. I mean, because I finished 3 of medium-sized projects, my medium slot in my new rotation that's coming up is a new start. More on that in a minute. There's going to be a small slot. Now I've finished all my smalls, so each time the small slot comes up I can start a new small, but I work on it till it's finished. Now I'm going to define a small as something that's not going to take me more than 20 hours to stitch. I have a nasty habit of starting massive samplers, and I have loads of lovely charts for little things, and so I definitely want to make us try and stitch some of my little things, because I just don't start them. So yes, and plus that'll give me finishes and let me start new stuff. So yeah, so my smalls will be new starts every time, probably, unless I don't finish it, in which case it'll roll over and I'll finish it the next time. And then I will have 10 hours for a large piece, and for that I will have and the medium and the large, I've got decision wheels on my phone. I'll spin a wheel every time to decide what I'm going to work on, unless of course I finish 2 pieces, in which case I get a new start. But I'm going to try it and only have new starts. Apart from my birthday in September, I can start a new sampler on my birthday. But I have about 30 big pieces, so I do need to get that number down. In an ideal world, I think I'd be happiest with about 10 large pieces, 10 medium-sized pieces and a small on the go all the time. But we will see if I ever get there, or whether I get the sudden urge to start all the things again. So I've started my first round of rotation. My small piece was my exchange piece. I've decided I might as well. So I'm currently working on my new focus piece, which is another, let's get this the right way up, piece by Lauren Sauer, Forget-Me-Nots and Stitches. This is another class piece. It is called Along the James River, Williamsburg Bound, and it's a sort of sewing pocket, and it is absolutely gorgeous when it's stitched. And before the class in 2013, which was I think the last time she came over to the UK to teach, I got the outside done, completely done. And that motif down the bottom is that little scene is absolutely gorgeous. So yeah. And then I sort of plugged away at it, and I got a fair bit, and I got the inside of the case done probably in a couple of years after the original class. And then what I'm waiting for is finishing the pockets off that go inside the case. So these pockets up here are two little ones that go on the inside of each, the inside, and then there's two large flame stitch pockets that go over the top, and that is what I am now working on. So I actually picked this up this morning to start working on it again, and I had just started the blue line of the Bargello, so I finished that off, put in the white, and I'm onto the pink now. I'm really enjoying doing the Bargello. It's all silks. There's a couple of water lilies, the rest is soy crystal. The entire case is a mix of silks and overdyed cottons. Lauren was more about the colour than the fibre used. So this is my focus piece. It is my current oldest whip. It is going to get worked on till it's going to get 10 hours every rotation round until it's done. I'm expecting that it will take maybe till April, May time to get finished, because all of these pockets are outlined in non-stitch, and that takes me a while. But there's only the two pockets. I think there might be some gussets to do as well, which are non-stitch again. So I think April, May time will see me finish that one, and then I'll move on to a new focus piece. Right, for my new medium slot, I said I was going to have a new start. And in common with everybody else on the internet who went to the Jingle Ball, I took Stacey Nash's class of the Gingerbread Cottage. But I didn't get it started. I was going to do this over Christmas, and then when I was juggling my rotation, I decided I would start it. I've had 3 finishes on my medium-sized one. I can start one. I think that's how I'm planning on working it. For every 2 finishes, I can start a new piece, because goodness knows I've got enough. She says, sat here looking at the shelves of charts facing her on the other side of the room. So yeah, so I didn't stay up to do Stacey's class live. I just watched the replay the following morning. The finishing looks very straightforward. I made a few notes on the instructions, but the instructions are quite comprehensive. So whenever I get around to it, I'm sure I can still manage it. So obviously she wasn't shipping the kit outside the States. So I had some of the called for weeks, and I got the rest that I didn't have from Lakeside Needlecraft. And then I went stash diving to find a suitable fabric. And the fabric I've decided on, because it looks gingerbready to me, is a piece of Lakeside linens in autumn gold that I got way back when I was in Silkweaver, the original Silkweaver, with the original owner. I was in their Fabric of the Month club for 4 or 5 years, back when they were about the only people doing hand-dyed linen. And when Lakeside first started, Silkweaver were distributing their linens. So this is autumn gold, and I think it looks fairly gingerbready in colour. So I've decided that that is what I'm going to use. Besides which, it's Lakeside. I've got these Lakeside. I mean, and I've used most of the real samplery colours up, so I've got some quite funky colours of Lakeside, so I do need to use them. So yes, so I've got this Stitches 1/8 of Lakeside linen, which should do for the Stacey Nash gingerbread house. And then I spun the wheel for which large whip I was going to work on, and it pulled up Catherine Finlayson, which, if you remember, it was a class I took earlier this year with Jeanette Douglas at Fobbles in the Lake District. And so it's going to be nice to spend a bit more time with Catherine. Let me show you where I am with Catherine. Here we go. So this is where I'm up to. If you remember last time when I got it out, I got the border vine in all the way around, and it matched. And I made a small start at the alphabet up the top here. So I am looking forward to getting 10 hours stitching in on Catherine and seeing how much further I can go. I think my plan is just to work on the first page of the chart, which takes me sort of to the D of the Eyelet alphabet. So about R. So that is sort of the first page. Let's just see how much of that I can get done, because I think that will be a nice solid start if I can complete that, but we'll see. The linen is Picture This Plus. I don't remember what it's 36 count Picture This Plus. I can't remember what linen it's called off the top of my head. And it is being stitched in a variety of silks. I haven't put everything, I'm putting them on the floss drops as I use them. So, which is why some of them aren't on floss drops yet. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting to work on Catherine. That will be fun. Right, what else is there? Oh, the Jingle Ball. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed the Jingle Ball. I did buy a load of stuff in the shops, but obviously I was buying PDFs, not being in the States. So, and I've not gotten around to printing them off, so I'm not going to share them with you. I did buy Stacey Nash's drum. Can't think what else. Someone had a red panda ornament. My daughter's very into red pandas, so I bought that for her. And a few others. And the booklet with everybody's, the PDF with everybody's, the bauble booklet, I got that. I did a little bit. So yeah, so I did Stacey Nash's class. I didn't really watch any of the ballroom. I didn't have a lot of time to sit around and sit on computers. It's a busy time of year, there's stuff happening. But I dropped in a few stitching rooms, usually the International Stitches room, because of the time that is first thing in the morning, UK time. There's not really that many other people around. And you could usually guarantee there'd be some other folk in the International. It's actually quite nice because in the International Stitches rooms, because I actually connected with someone that I knew 20 odd years ago, back in the dark days of internet, back when we were all on bulletin boards on the internet. And yeah, which is, for those of you who've been around as long as I have, which is going back a bit, back to the very early 2000s. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of stash to show you because most of it was PDFs at the Jingle Ball, and with the threads for the Stacey Nash. The only other thing that's come in since I last saw you was I did succumb to the exclusive for the Merry Elcorn sampler. I'm not sure why I do this, because I know perfectly well it will be on general release before I get round to starting it. But hey, I have the kit. It can go on the wheel for when I next have a new start. So this came from Hobby House. Excellent service as always from Hobby House. I got the cottons because that brings it in under the customs limit for the UK, which is £135. So that rules out silks. And it's Thornfield linen, and you've got a thread ring from Samplers and Memories. Sorry, I'm not still in the plastic and I'm not going to take it out. So yeah, so I'm very pleased to get that. You never know, I may get some more stuff, big things finished than I'm thinking I might. Though to be perfectly honest, if I get more than 2 large things finished in a year, I'm having I probably not working, and that's a few years away yet. Yeah, so I do want to get these things finished, but in order to finish them, I'm going to have to work on them. This year, working on one large sampler every, a month, and working on stuff in mornings and things. I've made progress on quite a few big samplers. They're not quite just at a small start anymore. But yeah, they need to get a bit further on first. So the only other stash I have to show you, well, it's not really stash, is one of my Christmas presents. And I got this lovely Kahana spool and pins from my daughter for Christmas, to add to my small Kahana collection. I've got a handful of snips, a couple of the magnetic scissor rests, and I've got a spring pin box, but haven't succumbed to the scissors yet. They're a bit pricey to be putting on my Christmas list, because the pricey item on my Christmas list is always pay for a retreat. Yeah, so if I want the scissors, I'll have to pay for them myself. So yeah, I have some good scissors. I'm not sure I necessarily need some Kahana ones, other than on the would be nice. I've got my Ernest Wright scissors, I've got some Dovos. They're the ones I use all the time, so I'm not sure I need more than that. So the only other thing I have to show you is a bit of knitting, because I've actually been doing a bit of knitting over the last few weeks. You remember I had to stop. If you've been here a while, I was I pranged the car and got nerve damage in my hand. It had actually recovered. It'd been over a year, but it finally sorted itself out. And then we had a really icy week and I slipped and I banged my elbow and I've set it off again. So back to square one, getting it back to the exercises and getting that sorted. So yeah, so I had been starting to knit again, and then I've had to stop again because I can't use a mouse all day and knit. It really doesn't like that. I just have to accept it. However, as I'm off work for 2 weeks, I've been doing a bit of knitting. So I've just been working on my hive shawl, which I can't remember when I started it. I think it's been on the go for over a year now. I got the kit. This is a chart by Mana Gilligan. I got a kit from Mana with some of her own yarn. It's Catin Fluff and Catin Silk in the colourways Take Me for a Walk in the Morning Dew. These are the yarns, so you can see. It's a very, I'm not sure how well it will come up, but it's very, very delicate, sort of greeny grey with splashes of yellow and blue all the way through it. And this is where I am. Right. The bulb pin shows where I was when you last saw it. So I've been sort of steadily doing a row every so often, usually in the holidays, like I say, when I'm not having to use a mouse all day. So this holidays I've been trying to do, because I'm on the last, I was on the second to last, I realised I was on the second to last pattern repeat for the lace, this mohair section. I'm on the last pattern release. So if I keep doing a row a day, it will be off the needles by the time I go back to work. Hopefully. So yeah, so it's silk and mohair. So it's the shawl. So next time you see this, it will be off the needles, and hopefully, because that's something also tends to take me a long time, blocked. Yeah, and no doubt I will have my normal feline assistance with the blocking. She's very good at that. She's the big ginger monster. She is very good at indicating when my knitting is dry, when it's blocking, because I find her asleep on top of it. She's not been on my Flosstube since the very beginning, but I have a very big fluffy ginger cat. I do put pictures on Instagram, mostly my stories of the cat, usually sort of sparked out somewhere, and I've been doing my level best to channel her this holiday. So I think that is everything. I've gone through everything. Yeah, so 2025, it's do a 10-hour rotation and see how much stuff, if I can get stuff finished. Shall I finish this? Because I'm going to do that with my spools, that's the whole point, is it will give me some quick wins. And actually feel like I get somewhere rather than never finishing anything. Yeah, and hopefully progress on as many of my big pieces as I can, so that and hopefully if I spin the wheel, some of the ones that are actually halfway or more, because I do have a few things that I got to about the halfway point this year. Some of them will come up and I'll make some solid progress, and hopefully finish a few more of the more medium-sized pieces, because I did get a few of them to within, I think, 10 hours of finishing. I just have to stop starting such large things, unless I finish some large things. Other than that, I hope everyone's had a good Christmas. Have a great New Year. I will be celebrating New Year, probably by time-honoured fashion, cursing everyone who lets off fireworks at midnight when I've just nicely got to sleep. In fact, I think the last few years I've just not bothered trying to go to sleep till after midnight because I just get so grumpy. If I get woken up by all the fireworks. Yeah, days of going out and partying are long gone. I should probably sit down with my stitching and, I don't know, good film or something. We'll see what husband and I fancy watching. So I'm going to stop this here because I've rambled for long enough. It looks like it's got to about an hour. I'm going to put some video on the end of my Christmas decorations. I did shoot a little bit of video of my Christmas tree and the other decorations in my dining room. I didn't make it to the rest of the, I don't really many in the rest of the house. I need to do some more finishing. Yeah, and then I am hoping I might get a whip parade filmed in the next week. But you know it takes me a good week or so to get a video uploaded, so don't hold your breath on that one. Yeah, and hopefully I will see you February half term if I don't see you beforehand. We'll see how the year's going because there's got some life stuff that's happening behind the scenes that I can't talk about that is liable to derail plans. But yeah, so hopefully I will see you again soon. Have a good new year. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, please like, please comment, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.